Welcome, traveler, to the ruins of Mycenae. These are the ruins of Mycenae, center of the old Mycenaean civilization. It was home to great warriors and heroes. In many ways, places like Athens and Sparta stand on the shoulders of its accomplishments. This tour will take you through its ruins and introduce you to its most important monuments, revealing its history in the process. I hope you enjoy yourself. I'll be waiting for you at the end of your visit.
The Mycenaean civilization flourished in the Late Bronze Age between 1600 and 1200 BCE. During this period, it was mainly located in the Peloponnese and central Greece. Mycenaeans were known for exploring distant lands. Notably, they battled the Hittite-allied city of Walusa in a conflict that was believed to be the inspiration for Homer's Trojan War. But the Mycenaean people didn't only travel to fight. They learned much from their neighbors, the Minoans of Crete, such as how to write syllabic script on clay tablets. Such tablets provide evidence that Mycenaeans spoke an early form of Greek. They also tell of how great Mycenaean kings ruled over their warriors from opulent palaces in places like Mycenae, Thebes, and Knossos. The entrance to Agamemnon's Citadel, or the Lion Gate, is one of the most iconic monuments in Mycenae. It is impressive for both its height and for the intimidating rendering on its relief, which depicts two lions standing on either side of a column. Unfortunately, the lions' heads, which were presumably made of a precious metal or higher quality stone, have been lost to time. The gate was most likely meant to greet a triumphant king returning home from successful military campaigns and to awe foreign visitors. The entrance to Agamemnon's Citadel, it is impressive. Both its height and for the intimidating unfortunate the gate. When these shafts were discovered by archaeologist Heinrich Schliemann in 1876, he believed the 6 gold-filled graves to be connected with the family of the great king Agamemnon, even going so far as to proclaim a gold mask he found within to be the death mask of Agamemnon. However, this was refuted by later excavations, which showed that the 19 bodies buried in the shafts dated back to a few hundred years before Agamemnon was even born. In fact, at the time of the body's burial, the Lion Gate and the Citadel walls had not even been built yet. It's estimated that the people in the graves were members of the first Mycenaean dynasty. The graves later became a place of worship for Mycenaean kings, who raised walls to protect them. These walls helped preserve several incredible artifacts, including women's jewelry, death masks, and masterfully crafted weapons. By 1250 BCE, Mycenae was at the height of its power, and its living quarters and workshops were numerous. Houses were built everywhere, from the top of the palace's hill near the king's residence, to the slopes and terraces within the walls, to the nearby hills outside the citadel. At one point, the citadel's walls even had to be enlarged to make room for more quarters. The people who lived inside the citadel were those with high status in either the military, religious, or administrative sectors of the kingdom. This is reflected by the ceramic and metal vessels inside the houses, as well as their painted plastered walls. A traveler seeking an audience with the king would have first ascended a steep ramp from the Lion Gate to the Citadel's summit. Here, they would have walked into the palatial complex through a grand entrance called the Prytaneion. Once inside, their gaze would immediately be drawn to the palace's main hall, a monumental area known as the Megaron. The vividly decorated Megaron, which glittered with precious objects and colorful frescoes in its heyday, was where the king would have received the traveler. If the king was feeling generous, he would have shared with the visitor the palace's most marvelous feature, its commanding and majestic view, which stretched from the plain of Argolis to the gleaming Aegean Sea. It was in this palace where a legendary Mycenaean king like Agamemnon would have held court. According to Homer and other poets, Agamemnon led the Greeks in the sack of Troy. Stories say that he was a fearsome warrior on par with Achilles, but also an overly ambitious and arrogant ruler. He sacrificed his own daughter, Heliaia, to convince Artemis to grant his ships passage to Troy. After conquering the city, he returned to Mycenae with mounds of riches, and a Trojan named Cassandra as his concubine. Agamemnon's wife, Clytemnestra, was not pleased with her husband's sacrifice of their daughter. she plotted to murder her husband out of anger. The plot was successful, and, depending on the version of the story, Agamemnon was either murdered in his bath by Clytemnestra or killed by his cousin Aegisthus during a banquet.
You've completed the tour. I trust it was an eye-opening experience. Though it did not last, Mycenae was a sort of precursor to what would eventually become the Greek civilization we know today. It's important we remember them, if only to avoid repeating their mistakes. Now, what else would you like to do? I appreciate your desire for more knowledge. Let us continue.
Greetings, Wanderer, and welcome to the Agora of Athens. The Agora is the beating heart of any Greek city. It is a place where all types of people may gather. From citizens and foreigners to magistrates and philosophers. All manner of business is conducted here, including political meetings, legal proceedings, and trade. When you finish exploring, come find me, and we can talk more. See you soon, Wanderer.
The Agora was the civic center of Athens, but it wasn't only frequented by politicians and city officials. The area housed a market where people could purchase food and other goods from merchants. It was also frequented by philosophers, who used the public space to establish schools and pass on their teachings to students. Religion had its place as well. Temples dedicated to Hephaistos and Apollo were located in the Agora, along with the altar of the 12 gods and the monument of the eponymous heroes.
Σοφόκλης, Σοφόκλης, άγιε και πέρα πλειάδα χωρεσνάους που και στη πανηγύρις. Να σταθεί ένα επιχείρημα.
Τι έστι το κάλις δεν πάλε ποτέ κρέας. Οι αγρότες φοβούνται μη φέρεσουν τα υπόλοιπα σκόνη στις οδούς της πόλης. Η κρεοπόλα θα ακούσουν διέλευση.
Επικαλούμε σε, Μάκαρ, πολιώνυμε, πυρήπολε και τελετάρχα, Θεόν Πάτερ δε και Ιε, σκυπτούχε, κούρε δημάτορ, βοτριόκος με οδηγέ των κομμών.
Επικαλούμε σε, Μάκαρ, πολιώνυμε.
Αντιμυστίου, παιδεία και γυναίκες λόγος.
Τούτο ούποτε συνεχίσετε. Ως πέρ σου εργάζεστε.
Είμαι τόσο ικανός όσο η μετεριάπανος.
Ουδή συνεργάσια είναι τέρης, ούτως έχει. Η εργασία διανελαττωθεί.
Κάλιστον πάλευονται κρέας.
Οι αγρότες φοβούνται μη φέρεσουν τα υπόλοιπα σκόνη.
Εις τρούσαν των ψυχάς, σύγχεα, δώσ' ειρήνην πολύολγον.
Μεγαλώνει με και πολιώνει με. Χθονία και
Ως κύπελον ο εμφύκληση, ετίε εσύ ως περεπλευρέ του κυπέλου, έτεινες διδόαση ευμετάβολον σχήμα. Κλαφμή και οδυρμή προκαλούσε δυσαρμονία μόνο.
διδόαση ευμετάβολον σχήμα. Κλακτμή και οδυρμή.
Το ηχθιοπολίον εστί μέθερον. Ανταχαίων τάραχος.
The painted Stoa, or Stoa poikile, derived its name from the panel paintings on its wall. The paintings were created in the 5th century BCE by famous artists like Polygnotus and depicted Greek military victories like the Battle of Marathon. The Stoa served as a public meeting place for citizens, but it was especially popular with philosophers who used the space to pass on their teachings. In 301 BCE, the philosopher Zeno of Kition chose the Stoa poikile as the location for his school of philosophy, the appropriately dubbed Stoicism.
Είδα την ναός της δύναται διερευνήσιν τας αγρικίες και ευρύν καλαθινούς αμνούς και μόσχους ητευτούς. Αλλά όμως τιμήσετε πολύ.
Trade in the Agora was supervised by magistrates. There were 5 agoranomoi who kept order in the market, controlled the quality of goods, and collected market dues. This provided revenue to the city and helped pay the magistrates and those in charge of maintaining order. The market benefited everyone. Customers bought what they needed, merchants made their living, and city officials received the money they needed to keep the wheels of democracy turning. The original temple of Apollo Patroos was built around 535 BCE by Pisistratos, but was destroyed by the Persians during their invasion a few decades later. It long remained in ruins, except for the altar, which was left standing as a reminder of the Persian sacrilege. Eventually, a new temple was built in the 4th century BCE. Inside was a statue made by Euphranor, the same artist who painted in the Stoa of Zeus. The temple held special significance in Athens, as it was connected to the origin of the city's people. The name Patroos, meaning fatherly, referenced the belief that Apollo was the father of Aeon, founder of the Ionian Greeks, from whom all Athenians are descended.
Μεγαλώνει και πολιώνει με χθονία και θυροκτώνε φιλαπρώτη και λυτηρία.
Και ο οίκος, τι έστειν η πίστης, είμαι το σου το προσθετή.
The temple of Hephaistos overlooks the Agora from the Colonus Agoreus hill. Today, it is one of the best preserved temples in Greece, owing to its conversion to a church in the Middle Ages. But while this transformation preserved the structure, it also damaged the surrounding sculptures. The temple was dedicated not only to Hephaistos, the god of metallurgy, but also to Athena Ergane, goddess of arts and crafts. Nearly every part of the Hephaisteion was lavishly decorated with depictions of famous mythological events, like the labors of Theseus. The Theseus scenes gave the temple the nickname Thesion, a name that lives on today as a city district in Athens. The Bouleuterion was another building in the Agora that contributed to the democratic process. It housed the Athenian Council of Citizens, the Boulé. This Council of 500 was composed of 50 members from each Greek tribe, all of whom served a one-year term. they were chosen by lot from among citizens over 30. Every month, one group of 50 was chosen to lead the Boulet's executive committee, the Prytaneion. The Prytaneion met every day of the month and called meetings of the full council in the Bouleuterion, where they spent their time discussing bills. The Prytaneion was one of the most important buildings in the Agora, as it was the headquarters of the Prytaneion. The Prytaneion was the executive committee of the Boulets, who ran the city's daily operations. The Prytaneion dined in the Prytaneion, and 17 of them slept on site to ensure there were always officials available to deal with emergencies. The Prytaneion also housed the official weights and measures of the city. The fire of Hestia, which provided sacred fire for all public sacrifices, was also located there. The Heliaia was the most important court in Athens and was presided over by a group of judges called Heliasts. Judging was a regular part of an Athenian citizen's life, with trials happening almost every day. Heliasts were chosen randomly based on two factors. First, that they were on the official list of 6,000 potential Heliasts. Second, that they were present at court on the day of the trial. A stipend of 2 obols was established by Pericles to compensate for the loss of work while on Heliast duty, and also to encourage participation in the judiciary process. In the Agora, an Athenian could buy and sell many different products. The permanent retail market was divided into sections according to the category of merchandise. Merchants and craftsmen who worked in the market could be citizens, foreigners, or even freed slaves. They sold everything from food and clothes to jewelry and slaves. With so much variety, competition was fierce, and that competition helped regulate the market's prices.
Τι συνέβη μόλις?
πως απαξιεί τα εμπορεύματα εκ του ευξήνου πόντου. Νύχ και καπνιστής και εσύ εδώ είναι χιλιάρες της Αθήνας. Ουκ έχουμε αρχίους, οπότε όλοι άλλες θα έχουμε έναν και εξαδίου θα λεγόμαστε στη ζωή. Ολόκληρη είναι έναν από όλων, πλήρως 4.000. Τόσο βιολογικό πριν έκθερο πόλεμο, κόφτεται λάρια σε όλες τις τέχνες. Απαντές τους αληθιούς εσύ το βιοποιάζεται, νόμος μερικνάτιον υφίσταται λέχτη. Είδα την ναός της δύναται διερευνήσει τα σαγρικίας και ευρύνε καλαμετρίσαμε.
The Heliaia wasn't the only court in Athens. This other court was located next to the South Stoa. Historians believe it to be a court based on the discovery of a nearby box containing 7 bronze ballots. These ballots were used by jurors to give their verdicts. The reason trials were so common in Athens might have been related to their democratic regime, which promoted the individual's right to demand reparations for injustice. However, not all legal matters were settled in this fashion. If a claim was small enough, it was settled individually by a magistrate. Public trials were reserved for more serious offences, such as murder, theft, and political crimes.
Τα επόλια σφόλη στα οδούς της πόλης. Η κρεοπόλια θα ακούσει η έννοια της.
Στρατικό αέσονται του ανδρός της. Επιθυμούν έμεινε εξάδελφον Θεού.
Περί αγάπης του τι λαμβάνει η χώρα.
The mint was where the city made its coinage. It is believed that Athens' mint was in the city's Agora, as modern excavations have turned up small disc-shaped pieces of metal used to make coins. Much of the silver required for minting coinage came from the Lavrion silver mines. Athens was so dependent on the mines that when they lost them during the Peloponnesian War, the city was forced to melt down a gold statue of Athena to mint gold coins and avert a monetary crisis.
Ισχύρος εντός. Πώς δυνατόν η σημειώρα αν ένα χείρο εντός της αποθήκης.
Κυριοξύνες εσύ. Ικανή ανοίξε τα σφύρα.
You have now experienced the Agora. Following in the footsteps of countless Athenians before you. I hope the trip has impressed upon you how important this place was to trade, politics, and law. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask.